good afternoon. Welcome to Hearts. Will tackle this one.
I think Hearts will do what Jim Craig says. I think Hearts will calm themselves down. I think they'll listen to Alan McDonald and Sandy Jardine, and I think they will go out there and play their normal game. I really believe that. I know there have been some wobbles and some wavers. That is natural, and no one knows that better than Jim Craig, and I've seen some teams falter, but I think that Hearts have the confidence, I think they have the skill, and I most certainly think they have the courage, and they have the individual flair, I think, to carry off this championship. They have done so well for themselves, for McDonald and Jardine, and for Scottish football, and I would like to think on this shootout afternoon, and it is that indeed, that they will finish with a flourish. I think that would be really fitting.
Yes, led by their charismatic chairman, Wallace Mercer, of course, who's done so much over the 5 years, and it is only 5 years that he's been associated with the football club. In recent weeks, though, and James just hinted at it there, Jim Craig, Hearts have begun to look as if they were feeling it a little bit in the legs.
Yeah, it's a long season, Richard, when you're sitting up there and people are picking you off or trying to pick you off one by one, and they've come through it very well. They've been a little bit fortunate in that their injury list has been less than many clubs have had this season, but I think Jimmy hit the important word right on the head when he said confidence. A run like that does give you a great confidence, not only in your own ability, but in the ability of your teammates to support you, and I think this will be what stands them in very good stead this afternoon. I think Hearts have been a little bit harshly judged this season. I mean, if you go through the team man for man, you can see that a number are being rejects from other teams, but that doesn't really matter so much. They're all playing a particular role in this setup, and what I think helps them is that they have variabilities. I mean, they have, if things are going rough in the middle of the park, then they can just bypass the middle of the park and throw the ball up to Sandy Clark up there, who, if he doesn't win it in the air, will make sure that the opposing centre half doesn't win it either, and the ball drops for both Robertson and Cahoon. Or they have good players in the middle of the park as well. They've got Neil Berry playing in front of the back four, who has been a great man for just blocking any opposition moves, and I think their strengths are considerable, and this season they've been a credit to their manager and assistant manager.
All right then, Jim, we'll come back to you many times throughout the afternoon. Indeed, we'll be back with you in a moment or two as we keep on picking up the atmosphere as the crowd. Paisley, St Mirren against Celtic, and watching from the back of the stand in the press box there, Hugh Keevans.
Well, Richard, it's all abundantly clear for Celtic this afternoon. They have to rely on Hearts losing at Dens Park. They must also win by 3 clear goals. And I think they've been helped in this task by the news that Campbell Money will not be able to play this afternoon. He's out of the side, he's injured and won't play, and neither will Steve Clark, the very dependable defender for St Mirren, the man in fact who scored the goal at Parkhead the last time these sides met when Celtic dropped one more valuable championship point. And there's also a doubt, I understand, about Neil Cooper, the centre half. So 3 defenders, 2 of them not playing, 1 very doubtful. So Celtic have nothing else for it but to attack all out today. They don't even bother about defending Pat Bonner's goal. They must go and get 3 of their own.
Yep, that was why I mentioned him in my introduction, in fact, because I was with him in Eindhoven during the week, and I think Alec Ferguson might like to have given him some of the game over there, but he realised that following an incident that James Sanderson and I witnessed last Saturday afternoon, he still had a bit of a muscle problem. James, come in on that one.
Yes, he was very courageous in the game we saw, and he had problems, but I think what happens now is, of course, this militates against Campbell Money being picked in our 22. I thought Campbell Money would make it. I'm unhappy, and I don't think he'll be named in the 22 now, and with him being out injured today, as Hugh Keevans has just said there from Love Street, and that really is a major blow, not only to St Mirren, but to the goalkeeper himself, to miss this last day, and also, sadly, I think, to miss the plane to Mexico. But there's no doubt at all, we saw Celtic on Wednesday night. Tommy McLean, you heard enthusing about Celtic's excellent football, their lethal finishing, and I think, of course, that Celtic are capable of winning today, but whether they're capable, as Hugh Keevans says, of getting 3 goals is a huge question. But what makes me very happy, the one thing I've got right this season, when I've got a lot wrong also, of course, is that we did say we thought that this season could go to the last Saturday. Well, that's engendered all the enthusiasm one would wish. It's bringing the public in, the most important people in the game, lest anyone forgets it, and I think this will be a Saturday afternoon to savour and to long remember, and I think it's going to end in triumph for Hearts.
Well, of course, after the match was over, James, we popped down and had a word with David Hay. The match I'm referring to, of course, was our live game for you in our last Wednesday night programme from Fir Park.
We've got to go for the victory with as many goals as possible and hope that Dundee beat Hearts, and I've got a feeling they could possibly do that, and then it's up to us to score as many as possible.
What about tonight's performance from your own point of view?
Oh, we played well enough. We could have done the extra goal or two. We missed 1 or 2 chances. More or less we got the victory and we know what we've got to do on Saturday.
You must have been delighted as well about the amount of chances you created.
To be more delighted if we would have put some away. I think it goes back to what I said earlier. We've probably started to play, well, not so much late, but it'd been better if we'd have played like this earlier on this season.
A 5-star performance in midfield by Tommy Burns, that was James's view.
I agree with him, really, an exceptional game, Tommy.
And up front, Maurice Johnston continuing in this very sharp vein.
Yeah, he's playing very well. Brian maybe didn't play so well as him, but nevertheless he stuck away the 2 goals.
Yes, Brian McClure also, in fact, the last couple of weeks, right onto his very best form. Do you feel if you'd played like this all season that, in fact, Saturday might be an entirely different ball game?
Possibly. I think Brian, maybe people like Paul as well. Paul's come back to a bit of form, not playing as we know he can do. Muddled an injury, he's come back to form. Tommy, we had to play at full-back earlier on the season. Him come back and play in midfield has played exceptionally well. Now, I think also the introduction of Derek White has helped the defence.
Certainly has. What about a word for your supporters for Saturday? What are you saying to them? What's the clarion call?
I don't need to say any Celtic supporters. I know they'll be there. You know, they're out in the numbers again there. They've supported us really well this season, considering at times how bad we've played. And I can give you the assurance that we'll be out for the victory and the goals as well.
And one final question coming from you, James Sanderson, to David Hay.
Well, my question is, can you still do it, do you think?
I believe we can. I think Dundee will beat Hearts, and it's up to us. We're playing well, we're making the chances, and Saturday make sure we take them.
Well, there's a positive view from a manager, one of the most positive views I've ever heard. Davy Hay thinks indeed that Dundee can beat Hearts and that Celtic can carry it off today. So I most certainly admire what he has to say, but I must thoroughly disagree with it. But I do admire him for standing up and saying it. No pussyfooting there. I wish more managers would say exactly the same things.
Right, let's go back to Hugh Keevans at Love Street, James, and just ask him if the Celtic support are gathering in as many a number as David Hay was assuring us that they would.
Yes, they are, and it looks a pretty stormy day here at Paisley, but they're coming out in their numbers, as David Hay said. And I spoke to the Celtic manager yesterday, and I know, Richard, that he believes that this type of achievement is the kind of audacious trick that Celtic go in for. They won the Cup in dramatic fashion last season in the last 15 minutes with those 2 goals, and on the last day of the season, David Hay thinks there might be more drama ahead.
Well, it'll be unfolding here on Radio Clyde this afternoon. There'll be live action from one of the matches, up-to-the-minute reports on all the other games, so stay with us. Super Scoreboard 86, the last. Now, what about the St Mirren against Celtic match? You've made it academic in that your other prediction has gone the one way.
Yes, but I think that Celtic will win this match. I'm sceptical over whether they can score 3 goals. They've won their last 6, they've scored 14 and they've lost only 2 goals in that time, Richard. But the atmosphere, a huge crowd building up inside Love Street. It's going to be a tremendous afternoon. I just don't know if they can score the goals that will be necessary, but I think they will win, Richard.
Yes, I'm going for Celtic to win. I'm going to go to them to win with skill and flourish. They had the wobble in mid-season that cost them very dear. Davy Hay is the man who says they can do it. And that's what he'll be saying just now down in that dressing room. He hears the noise of the huge crowd. Davis Hugh will be telling us, but I think Celtic will go out there, try and get on the spree. But I think there's a man there like Frank McGarvey who still thinks, Hugh, I believe, that if he had been playing for Celtic, well, they would be championship winners today and not Hearts. And I, for one, also believe that.
Yes, and I'm sure that Frank McGarvey is entitled to a little sour grapes over the manner of his departure from Celtic Park. Whatever else the merits and demerits of the case, you'd have to say, James, the timing was grotesque.
I think that's absolutely right, and I think that had he been in that Celtic attack just now, well, I think things would be different. That's not crystal ball gazing, because I think you and I agreed on it on the very day it happened.
Yes, that's right.
Right, let's go then to Dundee. Dundee against Hearts. Could this be the one? Jim Craig, well, you've got team news for now.
Well, Richard, this place is like a cauldron up here this afternoon. I can hardly hear myself speak, far less hear you. And as for the press box, I now realise what a sardine must feel like. The injury which Craig Levein seems to have suffered is a recurrence of an ankle injury. The teams have just been a really surprise appearance in the Championship decided, a boy whose career we thought had finished some time ago. 3/4 of this ground, Richard, is absolutely covered in Hearts fans. I can hardly hear anything from you at all, so back to you in the meantime.
All right, well, what an atmosphere at this moment down there, well, up there at Dens Park, Dundee. Hugh Keevans, I don't think Love Street can match that at this stage.
No, but they're trying hard here at Love Street, Richard, because a huge crowd building up, as I say, and in the main Celtic supporters, of course.
Patrick is St Mirren opposite number. They've also got a little mascot with them as well, who's shaking hands with Andrew Waddle, the referee for this afternoon. The toss just about to be made. I don't suppose, with the weather being the way it is, either sides will have a particular preference for playing either way here at Love Street. The toss is made. Danny McGrain has won it. He has the choice. and he has decided that Celtic will stay. Kicking then from left to right as we'll look out from the back of the stand here at Love Street, and it will be Celtic to kick off as well through Maurice Johnston. Brian McClare just coming up now to join him inside the centre circle. So all is set. This could just be a historic footballing afternoon here at Love Street, Paisley. It could just be that Celtic will come from the back to clinch the championship and overtake a side who have won 31 consecutive matches. Certainly the Celtic supporters here in the ground this afternoon believe it is possible. 3 o'clock is hit. Andrew Waddle blows his whistle, and the final Premier League match of season 85-6 gets underway for Celtic. At this moment, on goal average, 4 behind, points 2 behind. They need Dundee to win, and they need themselves to win by, I would have thought, something in the region of 3-0, and the League Championship trophy will have green and white ribbons on it tonight. Well, we've got live action because this will be Radio Clyde's live game. The last 5 minutes of the first half and the whole of the second half here on Radio Clyde, as always in association with our sponsors McEwen's Lager. So don't miss it, don't miss all the live action. I don't of course mean commentary, but I mean up to the minute details of what's happening. I understand that the game has not yet kicked off up at Dundee, so let us rejoin Jim Craig.
We're just a minute and a half underway, Richard, and really the first attack was by Dundee. Sandy Clark back helping out, sliced the ball over his own goal. Dundee with a corner kick just now. But I've played in 7 of these particular games, Richard, but the atmosphere, I can only say, is absolutely electric, and it brings me back to what it must have been like way back in the 1960s. 3/4 of this park is full of Hearts supporters, packed shoulder to shoulder, a fair representation of Dundee fans at the other end, and a really tousy start to this game. I think we're in for a real afternoon of both drama and excitement.
Thank you. Through Brian McClare after 5 minutes of play. A corner kick hit into the middle by Owen Archdeacon, and from that corner kick Brian McClare rose up high above the St Mirren defence and headed the ball into the back of the net. So St Mirren 0, Celtic 1, and Celtic right from the very start taking their championship chance. Stay with us on Radio Clyde. We'll have all the action for you just as soon as it happens.
Goalkeeper Jim Stewart, and how the Celtic fans enthused. The din echoed around the ground, a din of triumph, because Celtic out to get these 3 goals and have made a magnificent start.
Report from James Sanderson.
Well, it's still Celtic 1 and Mirren 0, thanks to that marvellous goal by Brian McClare, but the floodgates have not opened. I think a lot of the Celtic supporters sat back after that excellent McClare header, expecting 2 or 3 to fall, but St Mirren have got the act together, and Brian Gallagher threatened the Celtic goal in a breakaway. Celtic looking ruthless, looking mean-spirited, but they just can't open the floodgates and get these necessary goals.
Celtic.
All I can really say is ole, because Maurice Johnston has really scored a one-cup-tight goal to make the Celtic fans delirious with joy. A beautiful move by Johnston. He did it almost all on his own. He weighed things up. He rifled a shot past Jim Stewart, turned round, arms aloft to say, well, there you are. I might not be going to Mexico, but how do you like that? A magnificent goal, putting Celtic 2 up, and really St Mirren were getting back into the game, Richard, at that juncture.
Right, let's then go and find out how Heart of Midlothian are doing against Dundee at Dens Park with Jim Craig.
Well, they're not doing particularly well, Richard, and their fans behind me here are just pushing them on rather hopefully just now. Play is very, very scrappy indeed. The creative players are being intimidated by both the tough tackling and the tension which was obviously present before the game here. Dundee looking a little more confident when they come forward now. Certainly Hearts still have got most of the play. There really has been no goal-mouth incidents at all since you were last over, and at this stage it's anybody's game.
Well, it certainly isn't anybody's game at Love Street, Paisley. James Sanderson.
Absolutely magnificent, and Love Street really is a cauldron of din, noise and joy, because Super Mo, yes, he has done it again. This time he rifled it past Jim Stewart, once again finishing an excellent Celtic move, an impeccable build-up, finished up with a splendid demolition job by Mo Johnston.
Well, what about it, Sanderson?
Yes, a magnificent goal by Paul McStay. He took a cutback after a great Celtic build-up, cutback from Martin McLeod, and he smashed the ball right past Jim Stewart. Really, this is not a football team Celtic have sent out here today in this momentous afternoon. It is a demolition squad. 4 goals up. The opening one by Brian McClare, 2 by Super Mo Johnston, most lethal striker in Scotland just now, and then that marvellous goal by Paul McStay. And all we can see at Love Street, cacophony of din, a sea of green and white scarves, and one of the most momentous afternoons in Celtic's history. They really have done everything David Hay wanted of them, Richard. He said they could score 3 goals and more. He's been absolutely right.
Roy Aitken playing a long ball forward up towards the edge of the box. It's picked up at the edge of the area by Owen Archdeacon, but Tommy Wilson gets it for St Mirren. In fact, he's put it straight out of play midway inside the St Mirren half. We're looking out from the back of the stand here. Absolute bedlam here at Love Street, Paisley now. The Celtic supporters believe that this is certainly very, very possible. They're doing their bit, and they're just wondering if Dundee, who have still got an interest in the UEFA Cup, are going to do something on their behalf against Hearts up at Dundee. There is still no scoring, by the way. They were in obviously direct contact with Jim Craig all the time. As soon as anything happens there, you'll find out about it. Aberdeen have scored 5 goals this afternoon at Clyde Bank. Stark, McMaster, Weir, Hewitt and McDougall. Dundee United's lead against Hibs was gained by Mark Fulton putting into his own net. In the first division, Falkirk are leading East Fife 1-0. That's all they needed to do. In England, Kenny Dalglish scored for Liverpool, and this despite the fact that Everton lead by 4 goals to 0, and West Ham are 2 up over West Brom with McAvenny and Cotty the scorers. Back then to the live action at rain-drenched Love Street, Paisley this afternoon, where Celtic are treating their fans to their best football of the season. I think I can say that having seen so many of their games. Paul McStay turning it inside, looking for Murdo McLeod, but he's not quick enough. Peter Mackie picks it up close to the touchline, turns it inside. McGugan heads it clear, and it comes straight down to Tony Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick into the Celtic half for McGarvey, who doesn't control that one. The ball bounces back to Fitzpatrick though. Fitzpatrick looking for Mackie, who goes down. The referee waves play on. Referee Mr. Andrew Waddle, and there's Roy Aitken playing it out of play right on the halfway line, with Celtic playing from left to right as James Sanderson and I look out from the back of the press box.
Well, Celtic really have torn St Mirren apart, Richard. Davy Hay said, go out and get me 2 goals in the first 20 minutes. Well, they've now got 4. They have driven St Mirren literally into the ground, and it's all been because of McClare, Super Mo Johnson with 2, and that marvellous goal which you described by Paul McStay. But really, no one feels the rain out there as we watch. The rain is battering down. The fans don't feel it. The scarves are waving. They really have been the 12th man for Celtic all the way through. And this is a performance of really aggression, skill, courage, and absolutely superb on this afternoon.
In England, James, West Brom have got a goal back against West Ham. West Brom 1, West Ham 2, but that Kenny Dalglish goal for Liverpool, well, that could be the one. Meantime, back with the action here at Love Street this afternoon amongst the bedlam, the singing and dancing. Celtic really think they're going to do this, you know. Paul McGugan, a long ball forward, deep into the St Mirren half, and there's a pass back, knocked back to goalkeeper Jim Stewart by Neil Cooper. Campbell Money unfit for play this afternoon. Poor old Jim Stewart, as he has done so often in his career, if you look back, finds himself having to come and keep goal in a difficult position, and certainly there could be no more difficult position than facing players like Brian McClare, Maurice Johnston, Owen Archdeacon, Paul McStay, when they're in the mood that they're in. St Mirren have a throw in just now, midway inside the Celtic half. It's taken there by Peter Mackie, chested down by Frank McGarvey against his old mates. Frank McGarvey inside to Billy Abercrombie. Abercrombie to Fitzpatrick, whose pass is now intercepted by Owen Archdeacon. The ball breaks, nobody quite able to control it. St Mirren get it back. Fitzpatrick gets it back to McGarvey. McGarvey chips it through, and there's Pat Bonner racing out from his goal line, catching the slippery ball on the full and balling it out to Tommy Burns, who was man of the match on Wednesday night. Burns to McClare, back to Burns. A chip forward from Tommy Burns for Brian McClare. McClare gets it, holds it up just at the edge of the 18-yard box, far side of the field, slides it in looking for Tommy Burns. It's intercepted there by Brian Hamilton, and Brian Hamilton now coming away with the ball. Right-footed, he's going to play it up towards the halfway line. Will not get to McGarvey though. It's picked up by Derek White, the fine fair young player of the month. To Murdo McLeod, inside to Owen Archdeacon. Archdeacon sending it beautifully back once again. McLeod into the box. Oh, McClare misses his kick right in front of goal. Well, Brian McClare could have buried that one, James.
Yes, indeed, that should have been goal number 5, and McClare knows it. He just seemed to overrun the ball, and the ball just bounced away from him. But really, this is an intelligent, ruthless performance from Celtic. They're not worrying what's going to happen with Dundee and Hearts. They know they've got to bury St Mirren. They've got 4 goals. They want 6, and the way they're playing, they could most certainly get them. But Mo Johnson has been superbly in lethal form, so has Brian McClare. But that goal by Paul McStay really gets the accolade from me, and certainly from the Celtic thousands. I don't think they can believe what they're seeing. I don't think they can believe what they're hearing. They're tuned in, they're watching, they're tuned in to see what's happening at Dundee. But this Celtic team have gone out and done everything David Hay asked, and really it's quite an incredible performance.
In the English second division, James, by the way, Laurie McMenemy, Sunderland are leading by 1 goal to 0 against Stoke City. That could be enough for them at the end of the day as well. Meanwhile, back here at Love Street, Paisley on the attack. St Mirren, a high ball played into the middle, aimed at Mackie, a header. It's not even going to reach the goal area. It'll be turned away by Maurice Johnston of all people. There he is now back with the Celtic defence. Believe me, Mo in these last couple of months has got through an incredible amount of work for Celtic Football Club, and he's one of the reasons that they find themselves in the position that they're in at this moment. I don't know, in Celtic's great and tremendous history, almost 100 years old. This could be one of the greatest championships ever if they pull it off. A ball played into the middle, headed out of the box by Murdo McLeod, turned on by Derek White. Frank McGarvey, the man who scored the goal that won them the 100th Scottish Cup final, now in the St Mirren colours. Left-footed, Frank McGarvey crosses into the middle. It's a weak one, swept out of the box by Maurice Johnston in the general direction of Brian McClare, who heads it down to Danny McGrain, and Danny McGrain clears it across the halfway line. Referee Andrew Waddle blows his whistle. The crowd in the grandstand are on their feet as Celtic get a terrific reception, and really what a first half show. St Mirren 0, Celtic 4. Four absolutely beautiful goals scored in the first half, and we'll let you hear those goals shortly. We do have them. Corner kick taken by Owen Archdeacon, left-footed into the middle. Brian McClare came, and a beautiful header into the back of the net. And at this point, Celtic continued to press, but did not get any further joy until 32 minutes had been played. Paul McStay passes it wide to Maurice Johnston inside the box. Maurice Johnston shoots, and it's in! Took a couple of bounces to get there, but it made it into the back of the net. St Mirren 0, Celtic 2, Maurice Johnston. Now a chance for Celtic, a beautiful move down the right touchline. McClare into the middle, Maurice Johnston, a wonder goal for Celtic. Oh, Celtic swept the length of the field there, and Maurice Johnston was on the end of the move for the second time in 3 minutes. St Mirren 0, Celtic 3, 2 for Mo. Celtic drive forward down the left touchline. Owen Archdeacon bursts inside the box, still Archdeacon, he cuts it back for Murdo McLeod, who leaves it for McStay, who shoots. Celtic's fourth goal of the afternoon, scored by Paul McStay, and it is an absolute beauty. Certainly was that, I can tell you. 4-0 half-time. We're about to begin live second half commentary for you on St Mirren against Celtic, but we're, of course, in immediate communication with Dundee. We'll be dashing up and down there throughout the second half. And
It really has been aimed for magnificent, because, of course, the goal was scored by McClare, then the next two by Super Mo himself, as you've said, and then McStay. So aim for magnificent has been the key word, and the Celtic fans absolutely enthralled by this display. This has been an assault by Celtic. 4 goals, not worrying what's happening at Dundee. They've done the demolition job David Hay asked.
yes, and they've done it quite superbly well, playing some of their best football of the season, wouldn't you say, James? You've seen a lot of matches until you were ill, and many after.
I have never seen Celtic play better. I thought Super Mo's second goal was absolutely as good as I've seen from a Celtic player in many golden seasons, and really they have ticked like time bombs. They have an assault force. They've got all the skill and the courage necessary, and may I just say that Jim Stewart, standing in for Campbell Money, didn't have a chance with any of these goals, and the work rate of Mo Johnston as well as these 2 goals has been absolutely astonishing. The man is indefatigable. He really has done everything asked of him.
Thank you, James. And as we look at now from the back of the stand, St Mirren are playing from left to right. They have the ball at this moment. It's being played across the halfway line in the general direction of Brian Gallagher, who'll be lucky to get there. Derek White gets there first of all, turns the ball out of play of St Mirren midfield player Brian Hamilton. Throwing then to Celtic midway inside their half. Derek White, fine fair young player of the month, and deservedly so, I think most would agree. He takes it forward just now to Owen Archdeacon, back to Paul McGugan, right-footed across the halfway line to Brian McClare. McClare trying to turn it inside to Tommy Burns, intercepted by Brian Hamilton. He's tackled by Paul McStay. The ball's up in the air, down it comes. Maurice Johnston's fighting for it. Derek White steps in, tries to control. In the end, he turns it back from about 10 yards inside his own half to goalkeeper Pat Bonner in the Celtic goal. As I was saying, we'll keep you right up to date with the scores in the championship chase, not only here in Scotland, but south of the border as well, where it looks pretty rosy for Kenny Dalglish at this stage. One wouldn't like to tempt fate by saying any more than that.
No, I don't think you should, but I think it's his day, the same as it's going to be Celtic's day here, without any doubt at all. Could I just have a word about Pat Bonner, because we've said about the M's being magnificent, but Bonner really pulled Celtic out of some trouble when Paul McGugan was having a rather sticky patch, Richard.
Celtic are building again now. McGrain to Maurice Johnston, to Paul McStay. He crosses into the middle. It's just turned that first time by Godfrey. Straight back to McStay. He chips in, looking for McClare, but Brian McClare didn't go up for that one. Neither did Owen Archdeacon, and the ball winds up behind Jim Stewart's goal for a goal kick. Jim Stewart, the man who, of course, did so well at Kilmarnock, went down to Middlesbrough. Rangers brought him back, and he had a fairly difficult time at Ibrox. One remembers him being in goal the afternoon Charlie Nicholas scored that wonder effort. James, do you remember that one?
I do. It's indelibly etched in the memory, as it is in Nicholas's The Cannonball Kids. But Jim Stewart again, Richard, no chance with any of these goals, because they really were lethal ones. No one could have stopped these.
Celtic through Tommy Burns, trying to turn it inside to Archdeacon, intercepted by Fitzpatrick. The ball now with Hamilton. He loses out to Derek White. Derek White plays it here to Murdo McLeod. Celtic are 4 up and coming forward again. Murdo McLeod, long forward ball from McClare, who was offside. So was Owen Archdeacon, and so as well was Mo Johnston.
Yes, I must give a word here to Archdeacon. Archdeacon really has been superb this afternoon. He's made a lot of good moves. He's been incisive. He's read the game very well, and of course he's been instrumental in laying on 2 of the goals. And really, he has been a revelation. He took a bit of a knock in the first half. Seemed to be in the region of the kidneys. That seemed to put him out for 5 minutes. But he really has played splendidly, and as have all the Celtic players. But McGugan had a very, very sticky patch, and he's managed to come through that, thanks to Roy Aitken and Pat Bonner.
Well, St Mirren are on the attack just now, and the ball is played off Paul McGugan behind for a corner kick by Brian Gallagher. From the First Division, the Renegades score. Partick Thistle 1, Brechin 0. So Bertie, that's his last of the magnificent 7, and he might just get the result this afternoon against the club whose president, of course, or rather whose chairman, is the president of the Scottish Football Association, Mr David Will. 4-0 then to Celtic, and as they restart up in Dundee, 0-0 in a lot of ears. Just wondering what is happening up there. Well, we'll keep you right up to date. Don't worry about that. Here comes the corner kick into the middle. Paul McGugan's right up above everybody else, heading that one out of the box. Picked up by Tony Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick down the touchline here for Billy Abercrombie. Abercrombie gets past Danny McGrain. Right-footed, a high ball into the middle. A chance here for Mackie. No, the ball spins to the edge of the box. A shot and a good save by Pat Bonner. And at the second attempt, Mackie drives it over the crossbar from the edge of the 6-yard box. I think it must have touched the Celtic man on the way past. Yes, it must have touched Bonner, who was on the ground. Rocketed right off him, up and over the bar for a corner kick. And I think Pat Bonner's also taken a hand knock as that shot was driven in.
That was a marvellous save by Bonner, really. He could have been well beaten by that. He is hurt. He's badly hurt, I think, and he feels a bit of pain and anguish there. But I think the 4-goal cushion will be more of a salve of an ointment than anything the trainer has. But there's no doubt at all he made a very, very good save there. And St Mirren are still dangerous in the break. They have not caved in. They have taken a tremendous pummeling, of course, down 4 goals because of all that excellent Celtic aggression. But they have by no means, as I say, caved in. They're coming back. So once Pat Bonner gets in his feet, St Mirren will have that corner.
Let's just try Jim Craig, shall we? Let's just try and contact him up at Dens Park, Dundee, for the latest news while we await Pat Bonner's revival.
Well, you always insist on joining me, Richard, when the cheers are at their height. As Pats had to make a substitution in the second half. Brian Whittaker went off. I did say he'd received a knock in the first half, and Kenny Black is now in the left back spot. But since the second half, it has taken the same. It started as taking the same pattern as the first half, and there's no real chances at either end so far.
Okay, so still 0-0 there at Dens Park in Dundee. Back here, the corner kick is about to be taken. Abercrombie sends it into the middle, a header for goal, and a great save by Pat Bonner once again. Oh, that was a fine header by Pete Godfrey coming up from the back, and a very good header there by him, and a good save by Pat Bonner.
Well, you see, once again, Pat Bonner's helped Celtic. Despite the 4 goals, I said to you that Pat Bonner had really been a linchpin for Celtic in keeping them in the game, and now he's really sorted these 2 saves out. International class, of course, Republic of Ireland saves.
Murdo McLeod brings it away though for Celtic, and Brian McClare will cross the halfway line on the far side of the field. McClare's got 3 up with him. Mo Johnston, Owen Archdeacon. McClare crosses in now. Mo Johnston going for it. It comes back to McClare. He's right down to the byline. A very fine tackle coming in there from Godfrey, and the ball in the end going behind off Tommy Burns as he tried to control it, and that'll be a goal kick to St Mirren for Jim Stewart to take. It strikes me that since half-time, James, Alec Miller has certainly said, look, we just simply cannot let our season finish in this manner.
No, absolutely. As I say, they have not caved in. St Mirren have gone out there. They had shell shock, of course, with these 4 goals. What team wouldn't? They did look bemused, bewildered and shell shocked, but they have regrouped and have got themselves together. But once Mo Johnson and Archdeacon get going in these incisive runs, they really are very hard to contain. But you see, Pat Bonner has done a tremendous job in the first half when McGugan had that shaky spell, and then with these 2 successive saves, which really, Celtic must not lose a goal, no matter what. They've got to drive on, not lose a goal, and try and score another 2 at least.
And so it's a throw in here to St Mirren on this main stand side of the field. Tommy Wilson to take it. They're right back forward. He sends it looking there for Brian Gallagher. In first of all, though, Owen Archdeacon, and the ball's out of play again. Wilson, another one forward to Frank McGarvey. Frank McGarvey there was backed into by Paul McGugan, says referee Mr. Waddle, who was right on the spot. Frank McGarvey has not managed to make much of an impression so far on the Celtic defence. I wonder if his mind just drifts back to this time last season. Very probable that it does. Wilson then plays it forward to McGarvey. Across into the middle from Hamilton. A chance here as the ball flashes across the face of the goal. Nobody can get to it, and in the end it's going to go out of play. Far side of the field for a throw in to Celtic, taken by Danny McGrain. Danny McGrain to Paul McStay. Paul McStay tackled by Peter Mackey, a one-time Celt. He gets the ball forward as Mackey, then McGrain tackles him, and the ball spins back towards Tommy Burns now. Tommy Burns controls, gives it forward to Paul McStay. Paul McStay across the halfway line with a chip. There'll be nobody there, though, who can get onto that one. Brian McClare's trying hard, but certainly he'll not manage to outpace the St Mirren defenders. Neil Cooper in the end, seeing it back to goalkeeper Jim Stewart. In the English First Division, let's just check there again. Chelsea 0, Liverpool 1, Dalglish. Everton 5, Southampton 0, and West Brom 1, West Ham 2. So Liverpool still have their noses out in front in the English First Division. Meanwhile, back here at Love Street, Mo Johnston tries to get on the end of a pass from McStay. He does, turns it inside to McLeod, a shot, and there's another goal for Celtic, scored by Brian McClare as Murdo McLeod passed inside to him very unselfishly. Brian McClare just buries that from the edge of the 6-yard box. St Mirren 0, Celtic 5, and that looked oh so easy.
Well, it was so easy, but that really was an unselfish bit of play by Mo Johnston. He let the ball go. St Mirren didn't know where they were. Look at them now, stricken, head shaking, heads down. A marvellous piece of work. McClare just lobbed it past Jim Stewart, who is living a nightmare, of course. He is in Richard for Campbell Money, who's out injured. Jim Stewart's come back, and really it is a nightmare from him. His defence is now like cardboard. But that was a marvellous bit of unselfish, intelligent play by Celtic, and so well finished off.
So that's 2 for Brian McClare, his first after 6, that after 54. Paul McStay scored after 39, and Mo Johnston bagged the brace, 32 and 34 minutes respectively. Throw in then being taken for St Mirren now by Tommy Wilson. He gets it back from Gallagher. Gallagher gives it back to Wilson, who goes down to the byline and then just plays it straight behind for a goal kick. He just couldn't get anything at all on his cross into the middle as he was closed down there by Danny McGrain.
Well, as I say, Davy Hay said Celtic would get 3. Here they have got 5, and they really are playing as well as anyone could possibly imagine it. That huge Celtic crowd out there. Some of them are now in stunned silence, of course, because I don't really think they can believe their eyes. They have weathered a very bad time in the middle of the season. Celtic have now come back, and really they are playing as well as I have ever seen them. There's no doubt at all about that. Everyone is playing his part, and so has Pat Bonner.
Here comes St Mirren trying to get an attack going. Frank McGarvey is robbed by Tommy Burns. Those two were great pals, James, as well. But there's Tommy Burns robbing Frank McGarvey. Plays the ball straight back to Pat Bonner. Still 0-0 up in Dundee, and still Celtic keep pressing here. A long clearance by Pat Bonner. 1 for Brian McClare to chase right down to the byline. What a sprint effort he's putting in. Oh, hits the corner flag, in fact. Winds up on his backside. I don't think he'll be injured from that, Brian McClare. In the last few Celtic matches, he really has gone through a terrific amount of work. He and Maurice Johnston have been a tremendous pairing.
No doubt at all about that, indeed. McClare's the man who thought his future was in that Parkhead, wanted to go, but he made the correct decision to stay, and really he has done an immense amount of work today, as well as getting these 2 goals. But he and Johnson, well, they really act together like double firecrackers. They really have been magnificent. St Mirren cannot contain them. That's because, of course, both are such intelligent players that can read the play so well.
Yeah, Celtic playing the sort of stuff they played 4 or 5 seasons ago under Billy McNeil, James, when they were winning cups and league cups and championships, most importantly.
Yes, well, if they'd played like this last season down a few months, and there's no doubt at all, but they wouldn't be in this position waiting to see what happens at Dundee. But let's face it, they have done what seems to be impossible today. They really have come out. No one could have possibly thought they'd get 5 goals. They have done the seemingly impossible. They've done it with flair, style and venom.
Well, here comes St Mirren. Jim Craig again, Dundee against Hearts. James.
Hello, Richard.
Hello.
Certainly the Hearts supporters, fans' nerves are certainly in shreds just now, Richard. They've had 2 good chances in the second half just since you were last here. First of all, great work by John Cahoon. He went right through the middle. He beat Jim Duffy. He pulled the ball past Bobby Geddes, but was crowded out by the rest of the Dundee defence. And then the same man went right through the middle, and he had John Robertson on his left. He should have passed, but he decided to go right and was crowded out again. Those really Hearts' only 2 chances of the second half. Apart from that, Dundee have looked fairly impressive coming forward as well.
Right, okay, so there's still no goals then at all up there at Dens Park. There's 12 minutes left for play at Love Street and 15 minutes left for play at Dens Park. James Sanderson, I think perhaps, well, I don't know. I don't think one would like to comment on how it might finish.
No, well, I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and everyone out where we're watching is enjoying it, but Celtic have done the bit. They've written the golden chapter, and indeed it is a golden chapter. 5 goals, as I say, mission impossible has been achieved. They can do absolutely no more. It's all been done with them, perhaps too late, perhaps not. They have done the job, but they need some sort of lifeline thrown to them. And as you can see them, they do keep looking at the dugout, and obviously they are waiting for a signal that might just make Love Street erupt.
Murdo McLeod takes a throw in for Celtic midway inside the St Mirren half to Brian McClare. He's closed down quickly though by Frank McGarvey. McGarvey being tackled there by Murdo McLeod. The ball goes forward though. St Mirren retain possession through Mackey. He tries to outpace Derek White, but he's not quick enough for that. Derek White's back pass though goes over the line, and that'll give St Mirren a corner kick. Derek White, I think, just losing sight there of the precise area of the box, and as a result passed it wide, and Pat Bonner just couldn't scurry back to get it. So corner kick then to St Mirren. Up from the back has come Pete Godfrey. This is aimed for him, but Pat Bonner catches it easily. The wind that caught that one a little bit whipped it into the waiting arms of the big Irish goalkeeper, and Pat Bonner then will come towards the edge of his area and right-footed clear this one into the edge of the centre circle. A reminder then, this is Radio Clyde's live match in association with McEwen's Lager, and the score is St Mirren 0, Celtic 5. It's our last league presentation of the season, but we do have 2 more matches to bring you next Friday evening and next Saturday afternoon, so we hope that you'll join us for those 2 big finals with which to conclude the season, and we also hope you'll be with Radio Clyde Sport in Mexico. Derek White now, a long ball forward aimed at Tommy Burns, but no, really the spark has gone out of the game. It's all about turning to look at people you might recognise in the stand and see if they give you the wee signal, James, that the news is good.
Oh, that's right, because everyone here knows that this is over. The curtain has been rung down with great relish by Celtic, but it's still, of course, the play is being staged elsewhere, and Celtic know that more than anyone. They have done it all. They have run St Mirren into the ground. I don't think they're intent on punishing them anymore, but they've just got to wait to see if glory can be given to them, perhaps second hand.
Peter Grant to Brian McClare. Brian McClare's tackled and beaten, and St Mirren will bring it away here through Billy Abercrombie. Across the halfway line he goes. Frank McGarvey's up waiting for a ball, so to Peter Mackey. Gardner Spears have it, cuts inside Roy Aitken, turns back then towards the halfway line, playing it back there, linking up well with Derek Hamilton. Here he comes up towards the edge of the area, passes it out wide. Brian Hamilton gets the cross into the middle, and Paul McGugan it is who heads it behind for a corner kick to Celtic. 5-0 Celtic lead. St Mirren have been really only seen on these sporadic raids. It's been a terrible afternoon for them. They've been at the end of Celtic's best 45 minutes for a long time, and in the second half they've had no option but to hang on. A corner kick now. Abercrombie into the middle, first timed away by Murdo McLeod. It'll be picked up 25 yards out by Tony Fitzpatrick, right-footed. A high cross into the middle for Peter Godfrey. It's over his head though. Ball spins to the edge of the box to Abercrombie once again. Abercrombie still got Godfrey with him, but he goes for the byline. He's tackled by Peter Grant, and that's a throw in to St Mirren, 2 yards out from the corner flag on the far side of the field. Gardner Spears is running across to take this one of the 2 St Mirren subs, but the only one to get on, Jim Rooney, who hasn't had a great last 2 or 3 months. He waits on the bench. Gardner Spears takes a throw in, gives it to Peter Godfrey. Godfrey back to Abercrombie, high one into the middle, caught by Pat Bonner, and there's the right-footed clearance across the halfway line, aimed at Brian McClare. First man there though is Derek Hamilton, but McClare takes it from him, plays it inside to Paul McStay. McStay charges forward, keeps control of the ball well, tries to link up with Peter Grant, but across comes Godfrey, hammers it up towards the halfway line, where it's collected by Peter Grant in the number 12 shirt. He plays it out to Murdo McLeod, right-footed Murdo McLeod into the middle, headed out there by Brian Hamilton, picked up by St Mirren's Abercrombie. He turns it back to Neil Cooper. His forward clearance cannons off Peter Grant, spins to Godfrey in the end. Godfrey out to the left touch line for Derek Hamilton. Derek Hamilton sending it forward now to the halfway line, picked up here by Gardner Spears. Gardner Spears left-footed back to that touchline, far side of the field. A better build-up here. Derek Hamilton, long ball forward. Derek White is there though. Heads it out from the edge of the box to Tommy Burns in the midfield. Tommy Burns inside to Owen Archdeacon. Owen Archdeacon beats Frank McGarvey, clashes with Tommy Burns. Burns takes the ball off Owen Archdeacon and plays it to Roy Aitken. Roy Aitken out to the right touchline for Peter Grant, and the Celtic choir at long last, after a half-an-hour absence, return, James, to make their voices heard.
Yes, they're paying them fitting tribute, but really what we're seeing is a game in total slow motion. Celtic just happy to knock the ball about now. The crowd behind them even singing in the rain, but still waiting for that news. But as I say, Celtic players again looking at the dugout, where obviously it's still thumbs down. They've done the job. 5 goals. I don't think anyone thought they could get 5, except perhaps David Hay, who went for 3 or 4, but every Celtic player has done his best, perhaps too much, too late, but they have certainly accomplished it with venom and style.
Tommy Burns has the ball just now, plays it forward for Maurice Johnston at the edge of the area. Maurice Johnston, wide pass for Paul McStay to take it down to the byline. He crosses in, that's a good one. Oh, Jim Stewart very nearly drops it, fumbles it, catches it at the second attempt. And Massive news from Dundee. The crowd jump up and down. Well, let's join Jim Craig. Dundee have scored. Yes, Dundee have scored. And Celtic can't believe it, but yes, the news sweeps around the ground. Dundee have scored. Jim Craig.
Yes, Richard, a corner from the far side by Robert Connor, in-swinging corner, was not cleared by the Hearts defence, and I think eventually it was Albert Kidd who seemed to hook it into the roof of the net, although Henry Smith touched it on his way through. So we have now only 7 minutes left for play here. Is Dundee 1, Hearts 0.
Dundee 1, Hearts 0. 7 or 8 minutes to go in this game here. There's 4 minutes left here. 4 minutes left here, 6 minutes left in Dundee, and all of a sudden it appears that Celtic are going to do it. All of a sudden this match, which has been in limbo, swings Celtic's way dramatically. Paul McStay shoots, and a great save by Jim Stewart, just tipping that one past the right-hand post. Well, if you're a Celtic supporter and you're near Love Street, why aren't you here?
Yes, it's absolutely magnificent because the Celtic players know what's happened. Mo Johnson, the message has been passed that Dundee have scored. The Celtic crowd know that, they're behind them. This is one of the most frenetic times I can remember in football ever. No matter, this is a magnificent ending. The Celtic players all know the score at Dundee now. The fans know it, and Love Street is set for one huge celebration.
This is going to be unbelievable. David Hay is going to lead Celtic to the league championship. They did this last year, of course, when they lifted the cup. And now here we are at Love Street, and Celtic are going to be our Scottish League champions.
Well, they have, unless Hearts do something about it pretty quickly. But I think everyone's heart is in their mouth. That is the operative word, heart, because the news spread like wildfire around the ground. The colours are going, the scarves are going. People have actually come back into the ground. I could see them leaving and coming back in. The Celtic players were informed right away. Mo Johnston passed the news round. There was a pageantry of colour, a cauldron of noise, and Celtic obviously feel that the championship against all the odds could be there.
Well, you can hear it for yourselves. There's not much that I can tell you. We're just now waiting for the time to pass. We've got 4 minutes left here, I make it, at Love Street. It really is quite the most dramatic afternoon for Scottish football. Dundee then getting that goal from Albert Kidd. Celtic have scored 5 here this afternoon, and the ball at this moment doesn't seem to be the most vital thing about the day at this stage in it, but the ball is with St Mirren, working their way up towards the edge of the area. Derek White is there, and left-footed Derek White plays it long across the halfway line. Brian McClair heads it up into the air, and it's headed out of play. And still we wait, and the tension for the Celtic supporters on the ground is unbearable. 2.5 minutes left here, and 4 minutes left in Dundee. This game started a couple of minutes earlier. Celtic supporters going absolutely berserk around the ground at this moment. Tommy Burns watches the ball go out of play. Throw in to Celtic, midway inside the Celtic half. Tommy Burns to Brian McClair, pushing, shoving. Free kick to Celtic. Celtic then looking for a league championship. Suddenly masses of photographers have appeared from goodness only knows where. More news, Dundee have scored again, so this must be Celtic's championship. Dundee have scored the second goal. Jim Craig.
A second goal for Dundee, Richard. A great run by Albert Kidd down the right wing. A ball inside and a return pass, a 1-2, and he slammed the ball past Henry Smith and a Hearts goal. And I'm afraid now the scenes here are one of the type of thing that football does not want to see. There are fans running onto the park from all different positions. The barriers are just being pushed aside. The Hearts fans behind us throwing their scarves down onto the track side. I'm afraid the unsavoury side of football coming out now. The police valiantly trying to put them back into the crowd. But a great break for Dundee, a wonderful run by Albert Kidd, a quick 1-2, and he fairly hammered the ball past Henry Smith to more or less seal Hearts' hopes of the championship.
Meanwhile, back here at Love Street, the scenes are absolutely incredible. The Celtic supporters are on their feet. We're all on our feet if we want to see the dying seconds of this one. Celtic are still on the attack here. They lead by 5-0. They're about to become Scottish champions. Nobody had mentioned them, not a soul, in recent times, and yet all of a sudden it is going to happen for them. And with that second goal being scored there by Albert Kidd, there can be no doubt about that. Archie Knox's men have robbed Hearts, 31 games without defeat, and all of a sudden the whole thing collapses. Alec MacDonald and Sandy Jardine knew, of course, that while Celtic were in contention, they would never have won until the last kick, and that is how it has proved to be. Ball's on the halfway line. I make it now here that we have a mere 5 seconds left for play, and we'll see how much Andrew Waddle adds on. Owen Archdeacon breaking forward into the penalty box, but the ball has gone behind. He can't control it, and it's behind for a goal kick. Well, the seconds tick away. What about this, James?
This is absolutely astonishing. Celtic are the champions without a doubt. They know it. Everyone in this crowd here knows it. And the banners are waving. The stand is literally shivering. There is no doubt at all that Celtic are the champions. The team which came from behind, the team which seemed to have lost everything, they are shouting, "We are the champions." Mo Johnston and company are almost absolutely ecstatic with delight, shaking fists at one another, smiling. They know that Dundee have scored twice. They know that against all the odds, they are the champions. And the noise, the cacophony of din soars into the drizzle. Celtic really have made history.
I don't think I could have put that better, James, as the ball is played up to the halfway line. Again, it's really all about the time ticking away rather than the commentary description here. Celtic did the business earlier on. When you've got players like McClare and Mo Johnston, Owen Archdeacon on your side, of course, there's no question but that you're going to be able to do the business. And they've done it really in quite dramatic fashion here this afternoon. In the first half, they did their bit, and in the second half, the bit has been done up at Dundee by those 2 goals scored by Albert Kidd. The atmosphere inside the ground here, of course, absolutely electric as the Celtic supporters wait for those final seconds to tick away, and then I think there's going to be celebrations galore. Official attendance here is 18,000 people, by the way. On the halfway line now, Paul McStay has it for Celtic, one of the goal scorers. He turns it inside to Tommy Burns. What the finish this could be for Tommy Burns. Tommy Burns chips it in looking for Brian McClare, and a good catch by Jim Stewart right at the edge there of the 6-yard box. Well, I make it now, we're over time. I make it that the whistle should go. The championship whistle should sound shrilly in just a moment or two. Pardon? Liverpool are champions in England. Kenny Dalglish scored the winning goal. This really is a green and white afternoon. It's Liverpool in England. And Jim Craig, another goal at Dens Park. Jim. Right, it's full time here anyhow, and the crowd are on the field of play. And I think this is going to be absolute bedlam here. I'm going to try and get down trackside in a moment or two, but I think Celtic are going to be forced to make it off of the tunnel. They just simply cannot believe it. And it's full times at Dens. Celtic are the league champions for 85-86 as the whistle goes. The Celtic supporters here in the stand are absolutely on their feet. It's party time all over Love Street, Paisley at this moment. James Sanderson.
Yes, there are hundreds invading this pitch. The police absolutely powerless. They're pouring over. The police have been pushed aside. They're coming pouring over the barriers, waving scarves. The Celtic players, some of them having been bundled around in joy. They can't get past. Some of the players were raised on shoulders and taken in. Unbelievable sights at Love Street. One of the greatest ever finishes in British, not Scottish football. But scenes of exultation, scenes of hysteria, and I don't know how these players made it.
I told you, of course, that it happened in West Germany. Well, it's happened here, James. I'm going to try and go down trackside, so I'll hand you back briefly to Paul Cooney.
Well, what an afternoon. Celtic are the league champions. James will remain there, and Hugh Keevins is beside James at Love Street. Let's go up to Dens Park in full time, and what an afternoon for poor old Hearts. Jim Craig.
Yes, what an afternoon indeed, Paul. The Hearts fans have cheered their team off the park. A tribute to them, because they have had a wonderful season in spite of the fact they haven't won the league, and they have always got the Scottish Cup final to look forward to next week. But a bitterly disappointed Hearts. The truth is, Paul, when the big occasion came, they froze. They had very few of their players played anything near to their form. Dundee were equally intimidated earlier on because of the heavy tackling, but as the game went on, looked more and more fluent and got 2 very good goals in the 38th and 42nd minute to seal this game for them. Hearts' bench chances came in the 14th and 22nd minute of the second half. Both breaks by John Cahoon. The first time he went right through himself, but was forced wide by the Dundee defence. The second time he was going through the middle, he had John Robertson on his left-hand side. From the stand, the thing to do would have been to pass to Robertson, but obviously John Cahoon couldn't see that. He tried to go himself through the inside right position and was crowded out again. But that's football, Paul. If you don't take your chances, I'm afraid you don't win. Dundee got 2 chances in the whole half.
OK, Jim, let's go back to St Mirren and John Richard. Yeah.
Could you just, Christopher White, in fact, son of the late chairman's with me. What an afternoon for Celtic Football Club, Chris.
Well, it's been tremendous, and I'm just sorry my father couldn't see this fantastic day, because it's just wonderful. And it's the best way to do it at the last minute, and with the most fantastic performance of the season from the boys. Delighted.
Right, let's go down to the dressing room. The Celtic players themselves do not realise that they have won. Davy Hay is just 5 yards in front of me. I'm sure you'll want to tell Radio Clyde listeners, because we've been saying championship-winning Celtic all the time. David Hay, congratulations, you've done it!
Dundee definitely beat Hearts.
2-0. Yes, Hearts have been defeated by 2-0. That is confirmed, full time.
The reason I'm saying that, we heard at half time that Dundee were winning 1-0. It was a mistake, like, so it's definite. It's a miracle, and proud to be part of it today.
What would you pick out as the magical moment that then turned it all for you in the last couple of weeks?
I think after the Hibs defeat, we had a long hard talk about it, and we felt we could hang in. We were hanging in right enough, and their play in the past 6-8 weeks has been exceptional. I thought the first half of the day was brilliant, especially that third goal, and all credit to the players for coming back.
This, David, for you must be a dream come true, because you've chased the game virtually all season. You had a good start, it seemed to fall away, you've chased the game, and yet at the last gasp.
That's true, and I think only a team that Celtic could have done that. You know, the history of the club is such, when we've been written off, they've come back, and this has happened this season.
Do you remember when I told you on Wednesday night about what happened in West Germany?
That's true, and someday I got a phone call from a chap in Germany on Monday explaining the whole thing, like, we were still hanging in there. I felt on Wednesday we could do it. I think I said it. I felt we could win today and get the goals, and felt that Dundee going for Europe could probably still beat Hearts. I was maybe hoping for it, but it has happened, and I'm delighted.
And of course, for you next season, the European Cup.
That's true, but having said that, the boys have been exceptional. But I think if we made another acquisition or two, it'd make our chances in that bit better.
But you've brought young people into the side this season, Paul McGugan, Derek White. It's all paid off for you. Owen Archdeacon as well. You're building your own side.
Well, that's true, but I must say for the experienced players as well, people like Danny McGrain especially, you know, you couldn't get a better Celtic player than Danny McGrain.
Davey, thank you very much indeed. Perhaps we'll get a little word later on once you've had time to let it sink in, but I think the fans, they might rather like to see you out in the field of play.
We're delighted to see them, because they have supported us through the lean times this season, and as I've always said, you couldn't get better and more faithful supporters than Celtic supporters.
David Hay, on behalf of everybody listening, heartiest congratulations. You came and you did it.
Could I say one thing of my wife Alison and Caroline are listening? I love yous.
Oh, that's magic, right? For his wife Kathy, of course. I dare say the Doherty family, all the in-laws will be having a few on you tonight. I can actually see behind the stages here, Celtic dressing room, ex-Lord Provost Michael Kelly comes out, Dr. John Fitzsimmons. Dr. Fitzsimmons, another great result for Celtic.
Terrific, isn't it? Everybody's delighted. We're all thrilled.
There we are. You must have seen a few in your time. You were here for 9 in a row.
9 in a row was I. But that's as good as ever again, you know.
And here's Jack McGinn, Celtic director as well. Well, Jack, what about this, eh?
Absolutely unbelievable, Richard, you know. But we did our job today, and if you look at the thing for the whole of the season, we've done exactly what Hearts have done, but scored more goals. So we're deserved champions.
Would you pick out a key moment just before you go for this afternoon, or was it perhaps done a few weeks ago?
I think the first half had lots of key moments. We scored marvellous goals. We did everything we wanted to do, and then they scored from Dens Park. That was it.
And with you, of course, Kevin Kelly, nephew of the late Sir Bob. Kevin, congratulations.
A marvellous day for the club all round and for our wonderful fans. And you were in Amsterdam when George McCluskey scored a special goal in Europe, and I think this outdoes even that day, and that was a marvellous day as well. But that's us in Europe as champions. Hard luck to Hearts, but a wonderful season for Celtic and David Hay, and I'm sure he'll go on and go on to greater things.
Well, this could be the dawn of another era, of course, with David Hay having come and conquered all the way. Are the players still in the dressing room, Jack?
Yes, they're absolutely delighted. They're having their pictures taken and they're celebrating, and rightly so.
Right, that's tremendous, gentlemen. Thank you very much indeed.
Clyde as well.
A great day for Radio Clyde. When we came with you, of course, covered your match live, and lo and behold, at the end of the afternoon, you've done it. I think perhaps, Paul, I should go into the Celtic dressing room. I can't actually hear you at this moment. but I assume you are still
We're
there.
still here with you, Richard. Yep.
Into the Celtic room. In fact, I'll just check that you are receiving me.
Yep, we're receiving you
Are you
loud.
receiving me?
Yes, you're live on Radio Clyde.
I
Yep.
hope you are anyhow.
Yep.
And I will go into the Celtic dressing room in just a moment or two and see if we can join the players in really what must be a magnificent celebration for them. Really, this has been absolutely tremendous. What an afternoon. In fact, just past there, Scotland goalkeeper Campbell Money wasn't able to play today, and he's just standing behind the scenes watching the action taking place. And of course, for him, he wasn't in goal, and perhaps at the end of the day he might be slightly glad of that fact. Yes, in fact, I think, just checking my broadcasting equipment, I can hear myself clearly, so I will now make my way into the Celtic dressing room in the safe and sure knowledge that you will be able to join in the celebrations just now. Of course, the crowd outside are still waiting for them. Yes, the doors are being held open, and I think I will get permission to go into the Celtic dressing room. Congratulations, Celtic! Danny McGrain, you're going out onto the park.
Celts are here. What the hell do we care? What the hell do we care? Hail! Hail!
You've made it, Roy.
We started a lot of people tonight, Richard. A lot of people didn't give us any chance, but we've done it again.
What do you reckon then? This afternoon, the first half performance was superb.
That's right. I think that was the difference. Hearts must have heard that. All credit to Dundee. They did us a turn of the day, but at the end of the day, we've done it again ourselves.
Right, you're going now back out onto the field of play. What about the support?
Tremendous. Once again, they're the most loyal support in the country. Look at them out there. There's thousands of them. They know we were trying all season for them. They deserve it as much as we do.
Congratulations, Roy. Very well done indeed. David Provin's just going up the stairs with Roy as well. Celtic are trying to decide which way to go back out onto the field of play. Are they going to go upstairs and out onto the director's box balcony, or are they going to go out into the field of play? Mark McGee waited on the bench there. Congratulations, Mark.
Oh, fantastic for the team, fantastic for the manager and for the fans. You know, different class. We chased Hearts all the way. They've had a great run, but I don't think you can take it away from the boys here. They deserve it as much as anyone.
You've won a few championships elsewhere. Is this extra special in the way that it's been achieved?
Well, it's extra special. I feel probably I haven't given as big a part as a lot of these players, but certainly I'm enjoying it more than any other thing I've won.
I'm actually being lifted up from behind. Let me spot. Oh, it's Murdo McLeod once again. Wait, what's that?
7 weeks ago I said we'd come back and win it, like the 4-2 game, last kick of the ball. Tremendous day. What about the boys?
And I saw you out there, Murdo, right at the end. You were hoping, in fact, to get one of these 25-yarders in yourself, maybe just to ice the cake, you know.
That would have been nice, but it's tremendous. From coming from behind, it was tremendous. Look at the crowd. We're just going out to see them just now.
Well, we always think of you in terms of 78, 79. Is today extra special because of the manner in which you've achieved it, coming from behind? Everybody said Hearts, 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 Hearts.
Similar circumstances. We've came right from the back. We've had that great run. 8 games now, but we're only good enough to be the champions, that's all.
And a victory for the pool as well, I would say. A victory for the pool system here, Murdo. Right, let's just go down the tunnel and hear the Celtic players. They come out. Owen Archdeacon, the boy from Great. What an afternoon for you, Owen.
Brilliant, terrific. Can't believe it.
Did you think, that as the weeks and months have gone by, that this was going to happen for you?
Well, I didn't think it would happen, but in the last couple of weeks I knew we were there, and I knew Dundee would beat Hearts, and I knew we would win the day. That's it. Absolutely delighted.
Right, well, at this moment, there's still bedlam out in the field, and I don't think you can go out just now.
Well, not yet. Hopefully, we'll go out and see supporters. They're the best in the land, that's it.
Right, Roy, what's the problem? Why can't you go out just now?
Well, they're trying to get the supporters off the park, get them onto the terrace, and then we'll do a lap order.
Are we going to get a chorus from you all here?
It's a grand old team to sing.
Who's going to it? Pat Bonner will lead.
This man's getting, Willie McStay's getting married in 2 weeks, a wedding present for him.
Mo.
Oh, I'm just delighted. It's just one of my dreams to get a league medal. I'm just delighted.
This is what you came back to Glasgow for, Mo, isn't it?
That's right. Well, I've got a Scottish Cup. Now I've got a league medal, so I'm just delighted. I'm over the moon.
Tremendous one. Congratulations, by the way, on your own form in the last couple of months.
Thanks very much, Richard.
Great. Right, Mo, and we'll hope to see you, of course, when you come out. Paul McStay, well done, Paul. Championship medal again for you. I've been saying this to some of the other boys. It's been difficult the way the season has gone for you, but you've hung on in, and at the end you've triumphed.
I think it's paid off the way we've hung in. Nobody wrote us off earlier on about Christmas and that. But we hung in, we knew we had a chance. Even last week, 2 weeks ago, people were saying, no chance, Hearts have won it. But we showed by wiring in the other day. We got 5 goals, Hearts get beat, so we won the championship. We're all delighted.
What about the first half? Is that not the best 45 minutes of football Celtic have played, I don't know, since you've been at Celtic Park, but for a long time?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's the best ever since, I don't know, the last time we won the league, I think. So just delighted to be part of it again.
And of course, European Cup football.
Oh yes, it's nice to be back again, no? just hope we can do better next year. But today we've just got to celebrate the championship.
Tremendous. Paul McStay, many congratulations to you. Very well done indeed. Well, one man, of course, who hasn't been able to feature because of illness throughout the season, the man who scored a goal in the 100th Cup final last season, David Provan. Hello, Davy.
Hello, Richard. What can I say? It's unbelievable, and it just tells you, everybody, any time you want to write off Celtic Football Club, we'll come back and prove you wrong. We've come from way behind, and it's just a pleasure for me to be here today and see the boys doing it.
What about that first 45 minutes there? I was just saying to Paul McStay, I reckon their heights were touched that have not been seen in Scottish football this season, with due deference to the other 9 Premier clubs.
Yeah, well, the boys knew what they had to do, and give them all the credit. They came against all the odds, and they've done it magnificent.
Yourself, David, by the way, how are you feeling health-wise? You've now got a European Cup campaign to look forward to in that sense, I suppose.
Not really, but if ever I needed a tonic and ever I got a tonic, it's today. This is incredible. Incredible.
And the scenes outside just now, I don't think yet the players are able to go back out onto the park, are they?
Don't think so, but there's none of them getting into the bath, so you can be assured they'll be back out there.
Now, what I want to know is, maybe Peter Grant can come in and tell us, Peter, has there been champagne ordered?
Oh, yes, definitely. I think the turning point, Richard, was from Ackerman, you know. Well, the boys are saying that, you know, because with 5 minutes to go, you know, and it was 5-0, was it? And then I knew Dundee, not each at Dundee, you know, and I don't tell the boys, you know, and that was the difference. That's how we won the league. But it's a great day for the boys, and the punters out there were absolutely brilliant. They stood by us when we were going through the bad time, but now they're absolutely brilliant. And thanks a lot, Richard. Magic.
Right. Delighted, Peter. Delighted. Now, the police officer's just telling the Celtic players.
I'm the superintendent in charge of this game. I would ask you, I have asked your fans to return to the terracing and clear the track, which they have begun to do, and have almost completed doing that. I've told them once they've done that, I'll permit you to go onto the field again. I've said to them, if they try to break onto the park again, you will immediately return to the pavilion. I would ask for your cooperation in this. If they try to break on again, someone will be hurt. If they come onto the track at all, come right back in. Mr. McGrain, I expect your cooperation. Now, secondly, do not go onto the track yourselves. Stay on the pitch. And good luck. Thank you.
So there we are. That's the superintendent of police just telling the Celtic players exactly what's expected of them, all making their way down just now. Right, Mo, you can get out this time.
Yeah, so I'm just really delighted. We're just ready to get the gaffer out now because I think he deserves it more than we do.
Right, so David is going to come out. Let's just go back down the tunnel with them and let's hear the reception for the Celtic players as they come out now. Well, you can just get a taste of this. Love Street, Paisley, the rain is absolutely pouring down. Roy Aitken comes out, Pat Bonner, the ground a seething cauldron of Celtic support. Scottish television filming this so as there will be some historical record. David Hayes just coming out to the edge of the track, just shaking hands, the handicap. David, how does this feel?
Oh, great. Well, as I said earlier, unbelievable.
Quite fair. Of course, you're a man from this part of the world as well, maybe to win it down at Love Street too.
That's true. I used to play my football down the road 5 minutes from here. The whole thing is unbelievable.
Tremendous. I know the players, in fact, are going to come back and get you personally in just a moment or two as they go to the far side of the field there. Really 5 goals this afternoon. I mean, this couldn't have been written better, rather than the cup final, David, was exactly the same last year.
That's true. You know, then it was we come back from the dead then, and the same has happened this season.
Really, as we say, we look back over the games you've played recently, and I think there has been a genuine improvement over the last 3 months in the Celtic standards as well. Would you agree with that? Can we talk about that for a moment?
They've been playing really well. You know, I've always felt we could hang in and we had a chance, and their play at times in the last 6 weeks has been very good.
It certainly has been. Paul McGugan, of course, has made his place his own at centre-half. Derek White got Fine Fair Young Player of the Month yesterday.
Well, no surprise, he's an exceptional player, and if he carries on the way he's doing, he'll do a first-class job for Celtic.
Yes, no question. And Owen Archdeacon too, good game today.
That's true, only seen his ups and downs this season because of Davy being out, Davy Provan, but he's come through it well too.
And you must be singing in the rain here as well, absolutely drenched.
That's right, I could send the ball to Radio Clyde.
David Hay, once again, our congratulations.
Thanks very much.
So there we are, let's just soak it up. The Celtic players are on the far side of the field. David Hay is being hugged by all the fans inside the ground. As I look actually from the track here at Love Street, I can see the Celtic directors have gone back up into the box once again just to admire the sight. There's ex-World Provost Kelly, of course, not a director. Beside him, James Farrell. In fact, he's a distant relative of Jim Craig, who was covering the Dundee Hearts match this afternoon. How perverse that seems to be now. Celtic's lap of honour in the driving rain then. They've gone away from the far terrace. They're going down now to, in fact, the Love Street end here at Paisley, simply cuddling, embracing the fans who've come out. You heard the superintendent of police ask the fans to stay behind if they possibly could and not actually encroach. But if you're a 10-year-old boy and a Celtic fan, you can find that just a wee bit hard as your heroes come towards you. And here they come across now. There's Murdo McLeod, Roy Aitken looking up to the stand. Danny McGrain. Danny, we haven't had the benefit of a word for Radio Clyde. What are you going to say? Congratulations. What a day for you, captain of the club. Whoops. It's all right. We're still broadcasting live. Danny, on you go.
What do I say, Richard?
Tell us how you feel.
I feel very relieved. I feel relief for our supporters. I feel relief for our players who come through a different season. And what a way to pay them back today.
And you're captain of the club, and you know your wife and family. You must think of everybody at this stage of the game.
Yeah, it's just so many things to think about. And just now, this rain, support came. You won the Scottish Cup last year due to the fans. I think the fans today helped us today.
Just look up into that grandstand. How does it make you feel? Proud to be a Celt?
Terrific, yeah. I used to look forward to next season now in the European Cup. Great, that's terrific.
You'll be there. No doubt about that at all. Danny McGrain, thank you very much indeed. Right, so Danny making his way towards the tunnel. I think the Celtic fans would want to stay in here forever if they possibly could, just to receive the congratulations of the fans and of the crowd, who I think some of them had gone back into their motor cars with about 7 or 8 minutes to go. It was a fairly dirty afternoon for standing out on the terracings. They didn't think they were going to see history made, but at the end of the day, history has been made, and Celtic have come through to win the 85-86 championship from behind. Everybody had talked about it as Hearts Championship. Wallace Mercer, of course, have been lots talked about. Let's just ask a fan here, in a wheelchair, in fact. Your name, sir?
Peter Spellman.
Where are you from, Peter?
Anderson.
Are you a Radio Clyde listener?
I am indeed.
Well, how do you feel about this afternoon?
Ecstatic.
I saw the manager, David Hay, come and shake you by the hand.
He did indeed, yes. It was a really great moment.
God bless you. You'll not be washing for a week, I take it.
Oh, great. Smashing.
And who is your Celtic hero?
They're all great. They're all brilliant.
Who's the great hero this afternoon for them, would you say, or are you not picking anybody at all?
There's nobody in particular. They all played their part. 5 goals, you can't ask that. 5 goals away from home, you can't ask better than that, can you?
So what are you away home to do now?
Good question.
Maybe open a can of something or other?
Maybe just about.
A wee orange juice, that's magic. Peter, all the very best to you. Delighted to have come across and had a word with you at this time, and of course, as you can imagine, surrounded myself here now by celebrating Celtic fans. They're absolutely everywhere. Here's another chap in a wheelchair. What's your name, sir?
Matt Dockery.
Where are you from, Matt?
Paisley.
Well, what about this afternoon?
Brilliant. That's all I can say, it's great.
Are you a regular attender?
Not really, but I'd like to get season most I can.
You're man of the match?
Tommy. All of them all. Every one of them.
11 heroes. Somebody's shouting Tommy Burns at the back. Yes, this is live, in fact, at this moment, as we just enjoy the final seconds of the celebrations. The crowd's now beginning to make their way to the exits. It really has been one of the greatest afternoons in the 98 years that Celtic Football Club have been with us here in the east end of the city of Glasgow. Paul, I think at this time you'll want to round out some other football news. So a reminder, Celtic defeated St Mirren by 5 goals to 0. Hearts lost by 2 goals to 0 at Dundee. Celtic are the champions.
Well, what can we say? Richard Park there at Love Street. This is Radio Clyde, the station that went to the game where, against all the odds, Celtic became the champions this afternoon. 10 minutes to go. It was 0-0. It looked as though Hearts were, for the first time, going to lift the championship. But Jim Craig, it's now history that it wasn't to be.
Indeed, Paul, it wasn't to be, and the fans who gathered at the foot of the tunnel gave their team a rousing reception after the final whistle. Wallace Mercer had to come out and have a chat to them and mention that they still have something else to play for next Saturday before they dispersed. However, we've been finding out after the game, Paul, that the illness which put Craig Levine out of the tie altogether also affected Kenny Black, Neil Berry, John Cahoon and Brian Whittaker before the start. Brian Whittaker only lasted until half-time. so possibly that might one reason why Hearts did not play to their full potential. The first half was almost forgettable, really. It started off as a very tousy affair. I thought the referee was far too lax in his attitude towards the tackling and jersey pulling that was going on, and there was really very, very few goal-mouth incidents. In the second half, Hearts had 3 good chances. They had a great break by John Cahoon. He beat Jim Duffy. He drew Bobby Geddes out of goal and went to one side of him, but the Dundee defence got back and crowded him out, and then about 5 minutes later he again went straight through the middle, this time with John Robertson on his left hand side, and from the stand the obvious thing to do seemed to be to pass towards the left into Robertson's path, but he decided to go right himself, and again the Dundee defence crowded him out, and this time and the third good chance was Robbo was right through himself, and he tried a volley, a dipping volley. It went over the crossbar, and before that as I said in my comments from here, Hearts could have thanked Henry Smith for keeping him in the game, because Vince Meney had a magnificent shot on the turn, and it was a marvellous save by Henry Smith to get across his goal and flick it round the point. And then with only 7 minutes left, the roof fell in for Hearts. Corner kick on the Dundee right, taken by Robert Connor, left-footed in-swinger of course. It wasn't cleared by the Hearts defence, and Albert Kidd was there to hook it home, although Henry Smith did get his hands to it. And then a long run from Albert Kidd. He got the ball about 10 yards inside his own half on the right wing. He raced down the right wing, he beat Kenny Black, he came in towards the middle, he played a great 1-2 with Graham Harvey, and then sent a screaming shot past Henry Smith from about 15 yards. So sick as parrots, I could say. You could say both Hearts and their fans. They've always got next Saturday to look forward to, but it makes it a different game next Saturday, Paul, because if Hearts had won the league championship today, it would have meant that Aberdeen would have got an automatic place in the Cup Winners' Cup next week, as I read the situation. And of course now both of them are playing for that Cup Winners' place. It makes for a different game.
Yeah, Jim, it is hard to believe though for the Hearts, so I take it the Hearts side will be leaving the ground now, but they'll really have to lift themselves for next Saturday afternoon.
Well, truth is, illnesses apart, they just didn't play today at all. The back, they were not too bad, because Dundee as an attacking force were almost non-existent for most of the game. The last 10 minutes gave the lie to that, of course, but before that they didn't do a great deal. Their midfield in particular today, both Ian Jardine and Gary Mackay were way below par and didn't perform at all. Neil Berry, who was also affected by this illness, had to work very hard indeed, but that was the area where they fell down today. Up front, John Robertson, Sandy Clark and John Cahoon all tried hard, but really the service to them was lacking today, and it was you could put the midfield under spotlight tonight and say that if they had performed better this afternoon, then Hearts might not have come out 2-0 down.
We've been hearing over the past few weeks people saying it's a funny game football, Jim, and you were up there at Dundee watching the game this afternoon, and there were 20,000 Celtic fans at Love Street waiting to hear you bring the news that Dundee would score, and then it happened. So obviously a quick word for your former team Celtic.
Oh, I think it's a marvellous thing to Celtic to get something out of a season where it looked as though it wasn't going to work for them at all. I mean, they went out both League and Cup to Hibs, League Cup and Scottish Cup to Hibs, and to get this on the last day makes wonderful reading for any Celtic fan, and of course to go back into the European Cup next season is great for the Celtic management.
Jim Craig, thanks very much for your coverage this afternoon. The final score, Dundee 2, Hearts 0. Let's go back to Love Street and rejoin Richard.
Right, well, in fact, the referee, Mr. Andrew Waddle, has just gone past me there just now, Paul, and I've been talking for the last few moments with ecstatic Celtic directors. I'll tell you what I'll do, though. I will pop back into the Celtic dressing room if they'll let me back in, of course, because I seem to have been everywhere with them, and perhaps we'll just see what is being said behind the scenes here again at this stage. I understand there'll be no major official celebration this evening, but there's to be a trip straight back to Celtic Park once again. We haven't had a word with Tommy Burns, and I think perhaps his performances in the last few weeks have been absolutely superb. Tommy, we didn't get a word with you earlier on. Bobby Lennox is here as well. Bobby, will you join Tommy Burns and I just for a quick word? Let's turn to you, Bobby, first of all, because you played in so many of the 9 in a row triumphs. This is, it's typical Celtic, many people have been saying to me in the last 15 or 20 minutes.
It was incredible. It was really incredible. The league championship had gone, quarter out to go, and all of a sudden, I just can't believe it.
And what about the atmosphere right across the ground? It was almost as if a pall had come. It's almost as if we'd heard the nuclear radiation was coming our way, you know?
Well, we'd actually heard it was 1-0 at half time for Dundee. And I haven't been to the stand later on and found out it was still 0-0. So it was really, really quiet. But it was when they were roaring up from the crowd, incredible.
And what about the way this championship has come to pass? Celtic just keeping in there, but I mean everybody hasn't really, to be honest, the commentators haven't been saying Celtic, they've been saying Hearts.
There's only one team with a run, and that's been Hearts. Our run came very late on in the season, you know. We didn't lose a goal in the last 6 games, and we scored quite a few, so we're hoping today, you know.
And where does this rate with the 9 in a row? I mean, you having been part of so many different styled wins.
This is in par with the 4-2 game, I think, and that was the best one.
And of course, Tommy Burns played in that, didn't he?
Did you, Tom?
No, you missed that one. Was Aiken, who was in midfield? Did Dom Sullivan play in that one?
Conroy.
Mike Conroy played in that one. Where were you that night, Tommy?
I was jumping up and down the jungle, Richard. No, I was injured. I got injured about a week before. That's one of the big regrets of my life. I missed the 4-2 game, but it was still the best game I've ever been at. So it was just a fantastic night for Celtic. As today, it's just absolutely brilliant.
So how many medals that you've got, Tommy?
That's 5 league championship medals now, Richard. That's us on the way to our 6th.
Absolutely tremendous. And am I correct in saying, trying to play the role here of Celtic historian, this is Celtic's 34th championship?
I'm not too sure. I don't really count them. I'm just really happy for the supporters out there the day, the people that support us the whole year round but can't get to the games through other circumstances, and most of all for the manager, because he's took some stick in the last couple of years and most of it's undeserved, and if ever a guy deserved to win a championship it was Davy Hay, and I'm just absolutely delighted to be part of it and part of a great Celtic win again. It's just a brilliant day for us.
I don't think we can say very much more than that, other than you'll be looking forward to European Cup football next season as well, and perhaps, who knows, Celtic really lifting off, because you'd have to be honest and agree with me that the football, the standard played in the first 45 minutes was quite superlative, and for those who don't believe, of course, there will be television highlights tomorrow.
Well, that's right, Richard, but it's been a long time since we've done anything in Europe, and before we get into every season in Europe we always say, well, maybe this will be our year, but I think maybe the things have changed a wee bit for us. They'll get the doldrums, there'll be a lot of players in roots for a couple of seasons, and maybe this will be just the boost that the club needs. In closing, I'd just like to thank God for answering all my prayers, and obviously the prayers of the Celtic supporters, and I just hope we all have a good night. Thanks a lot.
Tommy Burns, Celtic, and of course erstwhile Scotland International. Celtic directors are over the moon, and of course, James, the Celtic supporters, 20,000 in this ground this afternoon, are over the moon, and I would imagine worldwide those who wear the green and white feel exactly that way, and who would have believed it?
Well, I've seen some days in my 40 years, but I've really enjoyed this afternoon, and Celtic deserved that. That really was something that no one could possibly foresee, except I think Davy Hay, who told you on Wednesday night, with myself standing beside you, that they could do it. Quite frankly, I didn't believe it. You told me you did believe it. I give you that. I must hand you that. And Davy Hay was the man who came out and said so. He's just left here, puffing in his cigar. I think the most contented man in British football.
Well, he won the Cup last year, he won the league this year. You got it, Park, on behalf of Radio Clyde Sports Team, congratulating Celtic and wishing you all a very good night. Paul McStay passes it wide to Maurice Johnston inside the box. Maurice Johnston shoots, and it's in! Took a couple of bounces to get there, but it made it into the back of the net. St Mirren 0, Celtic 2, Maurice Johnston. Now a chance for Celtic, a beautiful move down the right touchline. McClare into the middle, Maurice Johnston, a wonder goal for Celtic. Oh, Celtic swept the length of the field there, and Maurice Johnston was on the end of the move for the second time in 3 minutes. St Mirren 0, Celtic 3, 2 from home. Celtic drive forward down the left touchline. Owen Archdeacon bursts inside the box. Still Archdeacon. He cuts it back for Murdo McLeod, who leaves it for McStay, who shoots. Celtic's 4th goal of the afternoon. Well, Johnston tries to get on the end of a pass from McStay. He does. Turns it inside to McLeod. A shot. And there's another goal for Celtic, scored by Brian McClare as Murdo McLeod passed inside to him.